I have probably been playing an unhealthy amount of Hardcore World of Warcraft this past month. WoW is definitely my favorite game, and I love that the community pushed for Hardcore. It is definitely a super fun and unique experience. This past week, I finally hit 60. I want to share what I found to be the most efficient leveling experience to get you hunters to level 60 without dying, of course. In this guide, we will go over why Beast Mastery, races, abilities and rotation, talents, gear, pets, professions, banking and economy, and finally add-ons and macros. So why Beast Mastery? Well, to start off, I have been a hunter main since vanilla WoW, so I might be a little biased. Hunters deal a ton of damage, use a bow, use traps, and on top of all of that have pets to keep them company while they level. What's not to like? Pets make it possible to do a ton of quests other classes would need help on, which is why hunters are known to be the kings of soloing. Now races. Since hardcore is purely PvE, I would say it really does not matter which race you are, as you only get a marginal difference between the best and worst race. If you prefer one race over the other, then for sure just pick that one. For alliance races, Night Elf hunters get a higher base agility, so they will be doing very slightly more damage than dwarves. They also get plus 10 nature resistance and also shadow meld. Dwarves get a plus 5 gun skill. This could be good if you stay with guns, but I honestly think that it's better to go with bows while you level, and crossbows, seeing that guns are very rare while you level. Dwarves also get the ability Stoneform. Stoneform is actually a very useful ability because it gets rid of bleeds, poisons, and diseases, and while leveling there are only a few items that gets rid of these, and it could definitely save lives. For horde races, Troll is the best horde race for hunters because they get Berserking, which increases attack speed depending on your current health. You also get Beast Slaying, increases damage to beasts by 5%, Bow Spec increases your bow skill by 5, which will be helpful since we're going to be using mostly bows while leveling, and also Regeneration, increasing your health regen. For Orcs, I would put them second, as they get Command, increases pet damage by 5%, Axe Specialization, giving an increased 5 to axe skills, and I do recommend using two-handed axes, so this helps. Hardiness, which gives you a chance to resist stun effect, and Blood Fury, which is an okay ability, but it really only applies to melee. So again, it's an okay ability, just not the best. And finally, Torrent. You get War Stomp, gives you a stun, Endurance gives you more health, and nature resistance. Now abilities and rotation. Like everything in hardcore, you have to be efficient in buying skills because they are so expensive as you level, especially if this is your first character. These are the skills I think you should buy and level. Raptor Strike, Serpent Sting, Aspect of the Monkey, Hunter's Mark, Arcane Shot, Concussive Shot, Aspect of the Hawk, Men Pet, Wing Clip, Scare Beast, Mongoose Bite, Immolation Trap, Multi-Shot, Aspect of the Cheetah, Disengage, Freezing Trap, Rapid Fire, Feign Death. Now for rotation. I found that this was best for me for grinding and mana efficiency. For the opener, place an Immolation Trap, send Pet, Hunter's Mark, Auto Shot, Serpent Sting, and Auto Shot till the mob dies. The reason I like this is that it allows you to reserve mana. The way Spirit works in Classic, if you do not use a mana costing spell for 5 seconds, your Spirit mana regeneration starts, and this build is an Agility Spirit focused build to take advantage of that Spirit. Sometimes you get in sticky situations, and having reserved mana to burst down enemies with other abilities was super useful for me. If you get aggro, Pre-30, use Disengage and Raptor Strike macro. This is a cool macro I use for my melee abilities. You can find all my macros in the Discord, which is linked below. After 30, you'll also have Feign Death to use, but for a long time, Disengage will actually be more mana efficient, so just pay attention to that. And for your cooldowns, do not be precious with your cooldowns. Use them as much as possible. The more cooldowns you use, the faster you will be killing mobs, and it really adds up. Use Bestial Wrath, Rapid Fire, and Intimidation off of cooldown. If there's a pool that's coming up with multiple mobs, make sure that you have some, if not all, your cooldowns up. You have full mana, and it's also a good time to use your Engineering, Dynamite, or Bombs. And with those multiple mobs, always focus on killing the healer or squishy first, then worry about the rest. For my talents, this is what I had for my leveling build. I went 3 into Improved Aspect of the Hawk and 2 into Endurance Training. I then did 2 into Revive Pet and 3 into Thick Hide to give your pet more armor, makes him tankier. And then right away at 20, I went Pathfinding. This is super helpful while you're leveling, obviously, because you're running around all over the place. And then Bestial Swiftness, which increases your pet's movement speed outdoors, which allows them to get to their enemies faster, giving you an increased DPS. And then 2 into Unleash Fury, and I put 1 into Improve Men Pet. If a pet ever had a curse, disease, or magic or poison on him, you could use the rank 1 Men Pet and just keep using that until the effect is completely cleansed. And then I went to Ferocity until I unlocked the next set, where you automatically go for Intimidation. And I actually do like the increased focus regeneration for pets. It makes it so that they're able to use their abilities more. Again, more DPS. And get that 5th into Ferocity, and more into Unleash Fury, so that we unlock the next tier. And then you go straight into Frenzy and unlock Bestial Wrath. And at this point, I actually did go just finish Unleash Fury just to get that DPS increase. And then on the Marksman side, I went Efficiency, lowers your mana cost for your shots and stings. I then went for Lethal Shots, Aim Shot, which I really like to use. This increases your range damage by X amount, and that's why you want to go for slower bows. They have higher damage on them, which just makes Aim Shot deal that much more damage. Where if it was a fast bow with lower speed, the damage would probably be like, I don't know, 75% of what it is, maybe like half. I've seen it like that low, which would make Aim Shot not really be that much worth it, because you wouldn't deal more damage than like if you just did a couple auto shots. But it definitely is worth it with better bows. I went for Hawkeye, just gives you distance, and just to get to the next tier, I got Improved Hunter's Mark, and then I finished off with Mortal Shots. Now gear. For your stats, you want to prioritize Agility, then Spirit, then Stamina. For every point of agility, you get 2 ranged attack power. You also get 1% crit for every 53 points of agility, and 1% dodge for every 26 points of agility. 1 agility also gives you 1 melee attack power, which is why agility is the best for hunters. It makes you do more damage for both melee, but especially for ranged. The reason you go for Spirit is that it helps regenerate health and mana, meaning it gives us less downtime to keep pulling more mobs and leveling faster. The way Spirit works is that your mana begins to regenerate via Spirit only when you have not cast any spells that cost mana for 5 seconds, which is why we have our rotation mostly relying on dots and auto shot, so we can benefit from that mana regeneration as we kill the mobs. If you're going to buy auction house gear, prioritize Of the Wolf gear, because it gives you agility and spirit. Know that if you buy it on the auction house, that all the gear is not always the same for the same item. Some stats are actually higher on the same piece of items, and I've actually seen those with higher stats sell for cheaper than the same piece with lower stats, so pay attention to that. I also recommend using slow 2-hand Of the Wolf axes. Slow 2-hand axes have the highest damage for weapons during leveling. This makes it very useful because even though we prioritize range damage, but when an enemy comes close, we're able to take advantage of the high damage from the weapon, and the way Raptor Strike works is by adding damage to your melee damage. So the higher damage a weapon deals, the more damage you will be able to get out of your Raptor Strike. Typically, 2-handed weapons also give you more stats than the dual wield equivalent. That's why you go for 2-hand over dual wield. Now pets. Being Beast Mastery spec, it makes it so you do not really have to worry about what type of pet you get because they will be so buffed. I know when I first started playing Hunter, I counted down the days to be able to tame a red raptor. If you know you like a certain pet, for sure go for it. Having a pet is one of the best things about Hunters. You can check out every single pet model and ability at wow-petopia.com/classic. But if you do want to be more efficient with your leveling, I would recommend cat, boar, or owl. Cat has the highest DPS out of all the pets because they have the highest attack speed and are able to learn both bite and claw. Boar is a great leveling pet because it eats everything, it's very tanky and deals good damage. They also get the charge ability, which roots the target in place for 1 second and causes high threat, so it helps hold aggro and keeping enemies off of you. You want to take off autocast for that charge, macro, and bind it so you could use it when you need it. And Owl is a popular pet for raiding because of its Screech ability, which lowers enemies' melee attack power, but it's also great for soloing because Screech gives a ton of threat. I had never used an owl before, so when I got to Winter Spring at level 53, I grabbed one and it was definitely a nice change of pace from using a cat from level 10 to 53. Remember that pets have to learn the new rank of their abilities. The way to do that is you have to stable your current pet and tame the new pet with the ability and have the pet use that ability on enemies until it says you learn the new higher ranked pet ability. To see what pets have what ranked abilities, check out Petopia. From time to time you should be planning on what pet you need to tame to get higher rank abilities when you get to a new zone, as they do help out in leveling. Always keep your pet happy because they deal more damage, which means it's easier for them to hold aggro. Buy the higher ranked growl ability every 10 levels, as this helps with threat. And for pet abilities, I also do recommend prioritizing nature and shadow resistance because those help out with poisons, roots, and fears, which a lot of mobs will have during leveling. Now, professions. If your goal is to get 60 as soon as possible, I would recommend only picking up skinning so that you can skin mobs that you kill and give you an extra source of income. You definitely want to be leveling up first aid because it helps heal you and lowers your downtime in between mobs. It's also a great way to heal your pet without using mana for mend pet. I also recommend picking up cooking because it gives you stam and spirit stats, which is nice for leveling. There are also additional cooking quests at almost every zone that helps towards more experience. If you're taking leveling more casually and want to be more careful, engineering and mining is definitely the way to go because of their bombs and target dummies. I used a ton of target dummies which easily saved my life while leveling, so I highly recommend getting at least that first level of target dummy, which I think is around 80. The way I recommend leveling engineering is actually starting off with only skinning and mining, so that way you get the extra source of income from skinning, especially those early levels, while working on your mining, and mail the material to a bank alt until you have enough material to get your first target dummy, which is around level 85 skill, and focus on grabbing every single node in the first zones you come across. Even go out of your way to kill the mobs to get to a node, because it helps a ton being able to access the new nodes when you get to the new zones. I actually grabbed enough mats to get my engineering skill to 100 just so I could make the goggles and not waste time just going back and forth from engineering and profession trainers. The Flying Tiger goggles are also really good because helm pieces don't really start dropping until your mid-20s, and it allows you to grab those stats pretty early. And you should check out wow-professions.com. They give you really good guides on how to level every single profession from fishing, cooking, first aid, mining, and engineering. And it gives you actually a rough estimate of the material you will need. So that's how I was able to get to 100 just one go, and it saves so much time being able to plan that out like that. Now, banking and economy. Economy is very important in hardcore, and you should think about it as an insurance. You do not want to die on your character with everything you have. So that is why you need to make a bank alt that you send items and excess gold to. The best race for bank alts are Human for Alliance or Tauren for Horde because of how close they are to their capital cities, and you just park your bank alt right next to the auction house and mailbox. I recommend sending every single green or blue item to that bank alt and have them sell it in the auction house, and also keep that gold as your reserve in case you die, and also as a piggy bank to get to your level 40 mount. Also, after buying all of your higher ranked abilities every 2 levels, I'd recommend sending over the excess gold that you have to bank alts, because there really is no reason to keep that on your main character. Another tip I have is to get bags early and upgrade them when you can. The amount of gold you are able to accumulate with the extra slots pays back the cost of the bag super quickly. All of the add-ons and macros I use are in my Discord, so if you want to have the full list of them, go check them out there. Here's a list of the add-ons that I used in Hardcore. I used Atlas Loot, Auctioneer, Bagnon, Vendor Treasures, DBM, Deathlog, Details, Faster Looting, Leatrix Map, Leatrix Plus, OmniCC, Questy, Threat Plates, TomTom, Vendor Price, and What's Training. Everyone knows the inefficient leveling classic WoW experience, running 20 minutes to a new zone only to be able to do 2 quests because you didn't talk to the right person 2 levels ago to unlock the rest. To help with leveling, I wanted to share Joanna's guide. Joanna held the top leveling speedrun back in vanilla and created a leveling guide and add-on for all classes. He has been updating it since Classic WoW released back in 2019 and has continued to update it for Hardcore. To help out this channel, use the reference link below to get Joanna's leveling guide and add-on. I've been using it since 2019 and cannot recommend it enough. It is perfect for people who want to learn speed leveling, level multiple alts, or want an efficient leveling experience. It has a ton of hunter leveling tips, shows you a safe leveling path for Hardcore, shows you the quest NPC character models, marks them, and actually makes a sound when they spawn or are targetable. It even tells you when to put quest items in the bank for later churn-ins, and so much more. Again, using that reference link does help out this channel. Thanks for watching and good luck in Hardcore.